Maya Johnson stepped into the sleek boardroom of Tech Innovations, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and anxiety. The room was a stark contrast to her own journey. An expansive space filled with glossy white walls, a long glass table reflecting the overhead lights, and an air of confidence that seemed to emanate from her male counterparts. As the only black woman in this high-stakes environment, she could feel the weight of expectation pressing down on her shoulders. She had spent countless hours perfecting her proposal, one she believed could not only benefit the company, but also make a significant impact on underserved communities. Yet the sting of doubt lingered, a reminder of the biases that often clouded perceptions in corporate culture. Taking a deep breath, Maya straightened her blazer and walked to the front of the room. A few heads turned, and she could sense the skepticism lingering in their gazes. "Good morning, everyone," she began, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "Today, I'm excited to present a proposal that addresses a gap in our product line, an initiative aimed at underserved communities that have been overlooked for too long." She glanced at her colleagues, searching for encouragement, but instead, she was met with dismissive expressions. Thomas, the head of marketing, leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, a smirk playing on his lips. "Underserved communities?" he scoffed. "Do you really think that's where the market is headed?" Maya's stomach twisted at his condescension, but she pressed on. "Yes, Thomas. Many consumers in these areas are eager for technology that caters to their needs. We have a unique opportunity to lead in this space and create a product that resonates with an untapped audience." As she spoke, she saw her colleagues shift their attention away, engaging in side conversations, their faces reflecting a lack of interest. It was as if her words were mere background noise, trivialized by the louder voices in the room. Frustration surged within her, but she maintained her composure, channeling her passion into her presentation. "Our research shows that this demographic has significant purchasing power, and with the right outreach, we could not only drive sales, but also enhance our brand reputation." But as she concluded her presentation, the room erupted with a different energy. Mark, another executive, jumped in with his own idea for a flashy tech gadget aimed at affluent consumers. "Maya, while your intentions are noble, I believe we should focus on the higher-end market where profits are guaranteed." The discussion quickly shifted to plans for Mark's proposal, leaving Maya feeling invisible. She sat back in her chair, her heart sinking. It was a familiar feeling, one she had encountered too many times before. Her contributions dismissed, her insights overshadowed by the louder voices of her male counterparts. Once the meeting adjourned, Maya collected her materials, her mind racing. She felt a mix of anger and determination boiling inside her. She couldn't allow this moment to define her. Just as she was about to leave the boardroom, she spotted Angela, her mentor, leaning against the doorframe, a knowing look in her eyes. "Maya," Angela called as she approached. "I saw how they treated you in there, and it's unacceptable. You have a brilliant idea, and you need to stand by it." Maya sighed, her shoulders slumping. "I thought this was my moment, Angela, but it seems like it doesn't matter what I bring to the table. They just don't see me." Angela placed a comforting hand on Maya's shoulder. "You can't let their biases dictate your worth. Use this experience. Channel that frustration into action. Don't just fight for a seat at the table. Make the table bigger." Maya nodded, absorbing Angela's words. It was time to take a stand, to prove her worth through results, not just words. She left the boardroom with a renewed sense of purpose, her mind racing with ideas and strategies. This was only the beginning. She would not be silenced or overlooked. She would carve her path and make her mark, no matter the obstacles in her way. Maya Johnson sat in the dim light of her home office, surrounded by stacks of research papers and data reports. The soft hum of her laptop filled the silence as she meticulously crafted her revised proposal. Nights had turned into early mornings, and weekends had become a blur of caffeine and determination. Each statistic she uncovered felt like a thread in a tapestry she was weaving, a tapestry that would showcase not just a product, but a narrative of empowerment for underserved communities. With each click of the keyboard, her confidence grew. "This time, I won't let them overlook me," she muttered to herself, her resolve hardening. She felt the sting of the previous board meeting replay in her mind. The dismissive glances, the condescending remarks. But she was done being invisible. She envisioned her proposal not just as a business strategy, but as a catalyst for change. As the sun rose, casting a warm glow through her window, Maya took a deep breath and reviewed her presentation one last time. She had incorporated testimonials from potential users, real voices that would lend authenticity to her vision. With her heart racing, she rehearsed her delivery. "I believe this product can transform lives," she practiced aloud, imagining the faces of her colleagues as she spoke. On the day of the meeting, Maya entered the boardroom with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The air was thick with anticipation, and she could feel the eyes of her colleagues on her. Thomas, the head of marketing, sat at the far end of the table, arms crossed and a skeptical expression etched on his face. Maya took a moment to center herself, recalling Angela's words of encouragement. "Channel your passion. Let it shine through." "Good morning, everyone," she began, her voice steady. "Today, I'm excited to present the revised proposal for our new product aimed at underserved communities." As she spoke, she could see a flicker of interest in some of the board members' eyes. She shared the data she had meticulously gathered, the market research that highlighted the gaps and opportunities that her product could fill. "This isn't just about profit. It's about making a difference," she emphasized, projecting a slide that displayed testimonials from potential users. "These are real people who would benefit from our innovation. We have a chance to lead the way in corporate responsibility." Maya could feel the energy shift in the room. Some members were nodding along, engaged with her vision. But as she glanced toward Thomas, she caught him rolling his eyes, a dismissive smirk playing on his lips. "That's nice, Maya, but what you're suggesting sounds more like charity than a business model," he interjected, his voice dripping with condescension. Maya's heart sank momentarily, but she quickly regained her composure. "It's not charity, it's an investment in a market that's been overlooked for too long," she countered, her tone firm. "By tapping into this demographic, we have the potential to expand our market share significantly." Thomas leaned back in his chair, a patronizing smile on his face. "I just don't see how we can afford to take such risks when our current strategies are already working." The tension in the room escalated as other board members began to murmur among themselves. Maya felt the familiar sting of doubt creeping in, but she shook it off. "With all due respect, Thomas, our current strategies aren't working for everyone. If we want to innovate, we need to embrace new ideas, even if they challenge the status quo." The meeting continued with a mix of intrigue and resistance, Maya fielding questions and pushing back against the skepticism that surrounded her. Though some executives were beginning to see the merit in her proposal, Thomas's dismissive attitude cast a shadow over her progress. As the meeting concluded, Maya left the boardroom, feeling a mix of determination and frustration. "I may not have won them over today," she thought as she walked down the corridor, "but I won't give up. I have to show them what I'm capable of." With each step, her resolve solidified. This was not just about proving her worth to her colleagues. It was about paving the way for others who felt invisible in the corporate world. She would find a way to make them see. She would not be dismissed again. Maya Johnson sat at her desk, the soft hum of her computer filling the silence of her office. She had spent the past several days reflecting on her experiences in the boardroom, the dismissive glances, and the abrupt interruptions that had turned her groundbreaking proposal into mere background noise. Determined not to let her voice be silenced again, she took a deep breath and began to draft an email to her colleagues, inviting them to join her for a brainstorming session. "Hey everyone," she typed, her fingers flying over the keys. "I know we've all faced our share of challenges here at Tech Innovations. I'd love to gather some of you together to share our experiences and brainstorm ways we can support each other in this environment. Let's meet on Friday at the coffee shop across the street. Your voice matters, and together we can amplify it." Later that week, as Maya entered the cozy cafe, she felt a rush of excitement. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the chatter of patrons, creating an inviting atmosphere. She spotted a small group of women and a few men, her allies, already seated at a table in the corner. As she approached, they looked up with smiles that instantly eased her nerves. "Maya, you made it!" exclaimed Priya, a fellow engineer who had often spoken up against the lack of diversity in their team. We were just talking about how important this gathering is. Absolutely, Maya replied, taking a seat. It's time we start elevating each other's voices. We all have valid experiences, and we need to make sure we're heard. As the conversation flowed, each person shared their stories of feeling marginalized, of ideas ignored simply because of their gender or ethnicity. Maya listened intently, nodding in agreement as she realized how interconnected their struggles were. I feel like every time I pitch an idea, it's like I'm invisible, said Laura, a product manager. It's exhausting to fight for recognition. We need to find ways to stand together, Maya suggested. What if we create a platform where we can collectively present our ideas? Maybe we can approach the next board meeting as a united front. The group buzzed with energy, brainstorming strategies to support one another. They discussed how to present a cohesive vision that could not only capture the attention of the executives, but also emphasize the importance of diversity in their projects. Later that week, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Maya found herself glued to her computer screen. News alerts flashed across the screen, sparking a wave of anxiety. A competitor had just launched a product that mirrored her original proposal, a product aimed at underserved communities. Panic rippled through tech innovations as executives scrambled to respond, their attempts proving futile. Maya's heart raced. This could be her opportunity. The very idea that had been brushed off in the past was suddenly relevant as the company faced the harsh reality of a market threat. She quickly gathered her notes and prepared to address the board again. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, standing confidently in front of the team once more. I know we're facing a challenging situation right now, but this is our chance to pivot and embrace the vision I proposed earlier. The competitor may have entered the market, but they've overlooked a critical niche: the authenticity and connection with our community. Thomas, the head of marketing, scoffed from the back. And how do you propose we do that? You really think we can compete with them now? Maya took a deep breath, her pulse quickening, but she steadied herself. Yes, I do. We have a unique opportunity to differentiate ourselves by emphasizing our commitment to genuine community engagement. My proposal isn't just about a product. It's about a movement. We can position ourselves as leaders in corporate responsibility, capturing the hearts of those who have been overlooked. As she spoke, she noticed a shift in the room. Some executives exchanged glances, their skepticism wavering. She could see them beginning to reconsider her words, the gravity of the situation weighing heavily on their minds. I'd like to present a more detailed strategy on how we can penetrate this market effectively, utilizing the insights I've gathered through outreach and research, Maya concluded, her voice firm yet warm. Together, we can turn this crisis into an opportunity. The room fell silent, and for a moment, Maya felt the weight of their scrutiny. Then, slowly, one of the board members, a senior executive named Clara, nodded. I believe we should listen to Maya. She's right. We cannot ignore the potential here. Maya's heart soared. It was a small victory, but it was a victory nonetheless. She had drawn the attention of the very people who had previously dismissed her, and in that moment, she felt empowered to push forward, not just for herself, but for everyone in that room who had ever felt unseen. The atmosphere in the office was thick with tension as Maya Johnson stepped into the conference room for a team meeting. She could feel the weight of Thomas's gaze on her, a mix of contempt and frustration. His influence was tangible, a shadow lurking behind every discussion. Maya had become a target for his ire ever since her proposal began gaining traction, and he wasn't shy about making his disdain known. Maya, Thomas spoke up, his voice dripping with sarcasm. I hope you've reconsidered your last proposal. It seems our little competitor has stolen your thunder. Maybe it's time to focus on something more realistic? Maya clenched her fists under the table, refusing to let him see her anger. She had prepared for this moment, knowing that she would face opposition. Actually, Thomas, I believe my proposal still holds significant potential. The competitor's offering lacks a critical focus on our underserved demographics, and we can leverage that gap, she asserted, her tone steady. Underserved demographics? You mean a niche market that isn't worth our time? He shot back, a smirk curling his lips. The other team members shifted uncomfortably in their seats, caught in the crossfire. Some cast sympathetic glances at Maya, while others seemed to revel in the drama. Maya took a deep breath, centering herself. It's not just about the market size, Thomas. It's about making a difference and capturing loyalty from communities that have been historically overlooked. We have the opportunity to lead in social responsibility while also driving profits. Social responsibility? He mocked, shaking his head. Is that what they teach in those diversity workshops? We're a tech company, not a charity, Maya. Perhaps you should stick to what you know. Maya felt the heat rising in her chest, but she held her ground. I know more than you think, Thomas. And I believe that aligning our business goals with social impact can yield remarkable results. It's time we start thinking beyond our usual metrics. The meeting continued, but the undercurrents of tension remained palpable. Maya left feeling the weight of Thomas's hostility heavier than ever. She knew she couldn't face this alone. After the meeting, she sought out Angela, her mentor, in her office. Maya, you look troubled. What happened? Angela asked, concern etching her features as she gestured for Maya to sit. Thomas is spreading rumors about my competency, and it's creating a rift in the team. I feel like he's trying to undermine everything I've worked for, Maya confessed, her voice laced with frustration. Angela nodded knowingly. I've seen this before, unfortunately. It's a tactic used by those threatened by change. But don't let his words shake your confidence. You've got the talent and vision to turn this around. I want to confront the toxic culture in this place. Angela, it's not just about me. It's about everyone who feels marginalized, Maya said, determination flickering in her eyes. Then let's do something about it. We can organize a town hall meeting to discuss diversity and inclusion. Raise awareness, gather support, and put pressure on the higher-ups to change, Angela suggested, her enthusiasm igniting a spark in Maya. Yes, that's exactly what we need. I'll reach out to some of my colleagues who have been feeling the same way, Maya replied, her spirits lifting at the thought of standing united. With renewed vigor, Maya set to work. She reached out to her allies, gathering a diverse group of employees who shared her vision for a more inclusive workplace. They met after hours, brainstorming ways to promote the town hall meeting and ensure it would be a success. Let's make sure everyone knows their voices matter. One colleague, Sarah, said, her eyes shining with resolve. We need to make this a movement, not just a meeting. As the days passed, anticipation built for the town hall. The team rallied behind Maya, and she felt the support of her colleagues bolster her resolve. On the day of the event, she arrived early, setting up the room and ensuring everything was in place. When the doors opened, employees began to pour in, filling the space with a palpable energy. Maya stood at the front, heart racing, as she welcomed everyone. Thank you all for being here today. This is an opportunity for us to discuss how we can create a more inclusive environment at Tech Innovations, she began, her voice steady. The discussions that followed were passionate and raw. Employees shared their experiences of feeling marginalized, and the room buzzed with empathy and solidarity. As Maya listened, she felt a surge of hope. Perhaps this was the change they needed. However, lurking in the background, Thomas watched with a scowl etched on his face. He was not one to take defeat lightly, and as the meeting progressed, his mind began to churn with schemes to undermine Maya's growing influence. As she concluded the meeting, the applause thundered in the room, a stark contrast to the animosity that had filled the air just weeks before. Maya felt a swell of pride, knowing they had taken a significant step towards addressing the systemic issues within their corporate culture. But she also knew that the battle was far from over. Thomas's hostility was palpable, and she could sense he was plotting his next move. The stakes were rising, and Maya was ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. Maya Johnson stood backstage, her heart racing as she adjusted her blazer for the umpteenth time. The buzz of the high-stakes conference loomed in the air, a mixture of excitement and trepidation. This was it, the moment she had worked tirelessly for. The spotlight was about to shine on her, and she knew she had to deliver. The CEO of Tech Innovations had personally invited her to present her ideas, a testament to her recent efforts and the growing acknowledgement of her contributions. Yet, despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins, she couldn't shake the feeling that Thomas would try to undermine her. Maya, you've got this. Angela, her mentor, whispered encouragingly as she peeked through the curtain. Remember, your vision is not just about business. It's about impact. You're not just selling a product. You're selling a revolution. Maya nodded, drawing strength from Angela's words. She took a deep breath and stepped out onto the stage, the lights blinding her momentarily. The audience was a sea of faces, some familiar, others not. She could see a few sympathetic smiles, including those of her allies in the front row. She focused on the presentation slides, which flickered to life behind her, showcasing not just numbers, but powerful images of community members whose lives could be transformed by her product. Good afternoon, everyone, she began, her voice steady. Today, I want to talk about our opportunity to bridge the gap in technology for underserved communities. We have a chance to lead the market while making a meaningful impact. As she spoke, Maya felt the energy in the room shift. She presented her data with clarity, emphasizing the value of diversity in innovation and the potential for real change. Imagine a world where everyone has access to technology that meets their unique needs. This isn't just a business strategy, it's a moral imperative. The audience leaned in, captivated. She could see them nodding in agreement, and her confidence soared. She concluded her presentation with a passionate call to action, urging the executives to invest not just in a product, but in a vision for a better future. The applause that followed was thunderous, echoing in her ears, a validation of her hard work and resilience. However, backstage, Thomas seethed with jealousy. The moment Maya stepped off the stage, he approached her, feigning a smile. Nice show, Maya. But let's see how it holds up when the real numbers come in, he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Thank you, Thomas. I'm confident in my projections, Maya replied, maintaining her composure. She could sense the tension in the air like static before a storm. As she gathered her notes, she overheard Thomas whispering to a few executives, planting seeds of doubt. Are we really going to trust her numbers? I mean, can we really afford to risk our reputation on her? Maya's stomach churned at the audacity of his words, but before she could react, one of her allies, Sarah, stepped in. Excuse me, Thomas, but Maya's data is solid. You're not fooling anyone here. If you have a problem with her, maybe you should take a look in the mirror. The confrontation drew attention, and Maya felt a rush of gratitude for Sarah's support. Thomas's face turned crimson, and the tension between the two escalated. You don't know what you're talking about, Sarah. This is business, not some charity project, he spat back, clearly rattled. Actually, it's about ethics and responsibility, Sarah shot back, her voice unwavering. We need leaders like Maya who are willing to challenge the status quo, not someone who hides behind baseless criticisms. Maya watched the exchange unfold, a mix of pride and apprehension swelling inside her. This was the moment she had hoped for, public acknowledgement of the toxic culture she had been fighting against. But as Thomas turned to leave, she knew he would not go down without a fight. Let's keep the conversation professional, shall we? Thomas said, his voice dripping with disdain. You'll see how things play out, Maya. Numbers don't lie. As he walked away, Maya turned to Sarah, who was still visibly fuming. Thank you for that. I didn't expect him to stoop so low, but I'm glad you stood up for me. Always, Sarah replied, offering a reassuring smile. We're in this together. This is just the beginning. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. She had faced Thomas before, but this time felt different. With her allies beside her and a vision that resonated, she was ready to confront whatever came next. The battle for her place in the company and the fight for systemic change had just begun. The atmosphere in the conference hall buzzed with excitement and tension, the aftermath of Maya's powerful presentation still reverberating among the attendees. The confrontation with Thomas had not only shocked the audience, but had also set off a chain reaction within the company. News of the incident spread like wildfire, and it wasn't long before the board convened to address the situation. In a sleek, glass-walled conference room, the board members gathered, their expressions a mix of concern and contemplation. At the head of the table, the CEO, Richard Lawson, leaned forward, his steely gaze surveying the faces around him. We need to discuss the implications of what happened at the conference, he said, his voice steady but laced with urgency. Thomas's behavior is unacceptable and has no place in our company. One of the board members, a middle-aged woman named Claire, nodded gravely. We can't ignore the broader issues this incident highlights. There's a culture of discrimination that we must confront head-on. It's not just about one individual. It's about how we support our diverse talent. As the discussion unfolded, the board members began to share their observations of Thomas's conduct over the years. They reflected on the whispers of complaints that had gone unaddressed, the subtle undermining of women and minority voices. Maya's confrontation had peeled back the layers of complacency, revealing a deeply entrenched issue that could no longer be ignored. Meanwhile, Maya was in her office, a whirlwind of emotions swirling within her. She had spent the previous night reflecting on the events of the conference, the applause still echoing in her ears. But her thoughts quickly shifted to the fallout of Thomas's actions. She knew that the internal investigation would be thorough, and the tension surrounding the outcome weighed heavily on her. Just then, Angela knocked softly before entering. "Hey Maya, can we talk?" she asked, concern etched on her face. Maya waved her in, gesturing for her to take a seat. "I've been following the news since the conference," Angela said, her tone serious. "The board is taking Thomas's behavior seriously. They're launching an investigation." Maya sighed, running a hand through her hair. "It feels surreal, doesn't it? I never imagined it would lead to this. But I also know that this isn't just about me. It's about everyone who has faced this kind of treatment." Angela nodded, a supportive smile forming on her lips. "You've ignited a fire, Maya. People are talking, and change is happening. You deserve this recognition. You've worked hard for it." Over the next few weeks, as the investigation unfolded, Maya's reputation soared. The company began to acknowledge her contributions publicly, and she was promoted to a senior executive role. With this new position came a platform to advocate for diversity and inclusion. During her first meeting in her new capacity, she looked around the room filled with her peers and felt a palpable shift in energy. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice steady and confident. "I want to talk about the steps we can take to ensure that our workplace is truly inclusive. We have a responsibility to create an environment where every voice is heard and valued." As the meeting progressed, the board members engaged in a candid discussion about implementing new policies and training programs aimed at dismantling systemic biases. Maya felt a sense of empowerment as she shared her vision for the company's future, one that aligned with her values and aspirations. Amidst the positive changes, a shocking revelation awaited her. One afternoon, as she was reviewing her notes in her office, Richard entered with an unexpected smile. "Maya, can we chat for a moment?" "Of course, Richard," she replied, curious about the purpose of his visit. "I wanted to talk to you about something important," he began, his tone serious yet warm. "I've been mentoring you from behind the scenes for some time now. I believed in your potential even when others didn't." Maya felt a mix of surprise and gratitude. "I had no idea. Why didn't you say anything?" Richard chuckled softly. "I believed it was your time to shine on your own terms. But I knew you would need support. That's why I made sure to keep an eye on Thomas and his actions." Maya's heart raced as he continued. "I've taken action. Thomas has been let go, effective immediately. We can't allow toxic behavior to thrive. It's time for us to move forward." She felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Thank you, Richard. This means a lot. I'm committed to making our company a place where everyone can thrive." As she left the meeting, Maya felt that the tide had finally turned. The company was ready to embrace a new era, one that valued resilience, determination, and the power of diverse voices. Her success had become a beacon of hope, proving that with courage and conviction, change was not only possible, but inevitable.